What's going on there, guys? It's Skyward Shield. Welcome to another build guide for Smite. Today our god that will be featured is Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong is a warrior. You know, he has fallen off the meta because Season 3 didn't do anything to change him. He did get a slight buff in HP, but it's not back to what he used to. I wasn't around during Season 2. Actually, I kind of was, but then I played for a week. It stopped. I got lost interest. Then I got back into it when Season 3 arrived. So yeah, today we're going to build a tanky Sun Wukong. Now, in particular, this one's basically, you are going to be a nuisance. This can be almost a support, but there's a specific way to build Sun Wukong as a support lane. This is more so any other match. I can't really give you one that's for Conquest because I haven't come up with a build for that. I haven't tried Sun Wukong. I mean, it was one of Duke's Lost videos. I don't know if you watch him. If you haven't, go check him out if you want to see some good Smite videos, because he has a lot of good content. He about whatever happened to Sun Wukong, and basically saying he's fallen off the meta. The problem isn't him; it's other gods. Other warriors have become much better than him. In fact, Erlang Shen, who literally beats Sun Wukong in the lore, is much better than him so far. And he has 72 transformations as well. The only difference is he doesn't have a bird form, even though in lore, yes, he does. So anyway, we're going to be building a defensive bulky guide that's just meant to annoy the enemy team. So anyway, let's get things started. You are going to want to build, how I usually do it since I don't use a starter item. I don't use starter items that often, but let's say you're playing Clash or Arena. This is more for one of those type of games. Even Joust too, but I don't use them that often for Joust. So you're going to start with, you're going to buy a cloak and some boots. Next, you will buy 2 mana multi-pots and either a ward if your team won't build one. This is for Clash or Joust, really. If you're playing Arena, you're fine with this, though you could also go with a mana pot, since he is very mana hungry, and that is just part of his flaws, really. I want him to get a buff where his mana costs go down, or they actually give him more mana to work with to make up for that. Because even if you give him the mana buff, he's going to be he's going to consume it all very fast. So anyway, you're going to be building this. Another alternative, if you want to be aggressive, you're going to build Jotun's Wrath first. But we're going to assume you're playing more defensive from the get-go. So don't expect to be clearing and getting many kills in this start. You're playing defensive for now. Then you can upgrade to Height of the Urchin. Because most people like to build this late in the game for some reason. They like to build it 5th or 6th. And I have problems with that, because if you build this first and do the whole game, you're going to get kills. You're probably going to get more assists in the beginning. At least if you get assists, it adds to the stacks. You don't have to go 10-0 to get this thing maxed. You could get maybe 1 kill and let's say 5 assists, and you got 6 stacks already. Because here's the thing with Height of the Urchin: you get 35 physical and magical protections, 250 health and mana. But with every stack, you gain an additional 3 protections for each God Killer assist. So theoretically, if you get this thing capped out, it'll end up with 70 physical and magical protections. That's about as much you're going to get out of a Bulwark of Hope or a Breastplate of Valor, which both are going to come into play in the build. Anyway, so max out, get Warrior Tabi. You would not want anything else, unless you want to go full-on tank. Reinforced Greaves is your ideal choice because CC reduction and the extra health. But otherwise, go Warrior Tabi, because this is your only bit of power and you want it. Now here's where you get a little you're going to get an offensive item. You're going to get Jotun's Wrath because you want the cooldown out of it. Get used to it. This is your only defensive item for a while. Next up, we're going to be building another defensive. Depending on the situation, you're going to go either Breastplate of Valor or Bulwark of Hope. Though if you're the only one playing tank and you don't have another one, I would recommend Heartward Amulet instead, and maybe Sovereignty. But if you don't care about helping your teammates, then just get Breastplate of Valor and Bulwark of Hope. Bulwark of Hope is extremely broken right now. It is really good because you get extra health if you're pushed to the edge, and if you can get that, you might be able to live and use your ultimate. I'll explain his skills in a second. Anyway, the last item, Titan's Bane. This is really a fixed build. Again, these two are probably the only flexible ones. If they have a healer, then get Brawler's Beatstick again. Just note your pen is not going to be as good as it would be then with Titan's Bane. Anyway, Relics of Choice. Up to you, really. I'll give you a few options. Of course, Sanctuary, Purification are options. Meditation if you really want to help your teammates. Sprint is a good alternative so you can escape, because if you add the bird form, you're gone. Like you can run with this form, then transform into your bird form, and you're out of there. So yes, we're gonna go supportish. Oh no, we'll get Sanctuary here, and there you go. There's an ideal setup. Anyway, so let's talk about his moves. His one. Let's go find an example. Okay, we'll save his forms for later. Let's go get this buff because that's the only one I can think of. So, here's your two. Your two is a spin. Anyone hitting it will be slowed. So it's good when you're chasing somebody, so they'll have a tougher time escaping unless they have a jump. Anyway, so your one is a cudgel. It's got some really good poke, and here's what I like the most about it. While you're firing it, it still has a delay. So what you could do is, let's say, okay, so your enemy's going to be right in front of you, but he makes a slight juke move to the right. While you're shooting this thing, you could just tilt the angle and hit the enemy regardless. So they could try to juke move it, but they might have to do a double juke if they even have the movement speed for it to try to avoid it. That's what I like about his one. And you'd be surprised just how far it can reach enemies. I like to think it goes slightly beyond the rectangle here. It's really good. Next, his three forms. These things are going to, if you want to be a good Sun Wukong, you need to know to utilize all three to their fullest. I actually played a Conquest where here's a mistake. If you're trying to gank, don't run in from the middle of the forest or of the jungle in your tiger form. They wouldn't. By the time he came out, he already turned back. Which, speaking of, let's go over all. So that's the thing. You have to master all forms. If you can't master all three, you are not going to utilize Sun Wukong to his fullest. So let's get started. His first form is the bull form. What it does is you are immune to slows and roots during this time, and you will knock enemies up. So if a god is chasing another, or you're being surrounded by them and you just need to get out, you will ram through them, knocking them up in the air, which is a brief stun, which can be just enough to get you out of a situation. Next is tiger form. This is you have to adjust the mouse to move to the middle. This form will allow you to chase a god, or the first thing you contact you will grab, doing the most damage out of all three forms, because the bull does some slight damage, but barely anything. You'll do good damage, and you'll stun them. They will be... It's basic, in a way it's a root, but they're stunned for a second, so if somebody was there trying to kill them, you're setting them up for it right now. And then the last form, this then is purely for escape. It does no damage. The bird form is the fastest. It gets you out of situations the easiest. It should be noted you are not immune to slows or roots. So if someone roots you while you're in the bird form, you're SOL, buddy. That's the best thing I can tell you. So yeah, use the third form for escapes. Or when you're leaving base, especially if you're playing Conquest, you won't need it, especially if you got the cooldowns on hand. So yes, utilize all three forms. Three you can use to escape or to ram into enemy gods, maybe deny them a chance to get closer. Like if someone's chasing after your god, like one of your allies, and you could catch him in the tiger form if you can. But here's the thing, if you're playing against a Sun Wukong, and you intend to, and you know they're going to use a tiger form, what you could do is run through minions, because that's the downside of this thing. It targets anyone. It doesn't go through minions like the bull form. Watch. Say I want to get the attack buff here. I hit that guy instead. It still do damage, but you don't want to catch a minion. You want to catch an enemy god, because you're trying to kill him. Lastly, let's talk about his ult. Let's go fight something that'll actually damage me. Let's fight the Gold Fury. So, we get in a fight. I'm going to take damage. Let him hit me for a few seconds, and now watch. I'm going to use my 4. I'm immune to CC in the meanwhile, and as I'm up here, I'm going to be recovering HP. Then I can drop down. I have a clone here that'll last for a few seconds, but if I drop down early enough, he could fight with me. So, if you know how to do this right, if someone's going to come around the corner, you could ult up in the air, the clone will be there. It'll prioritize gods, but the thing is, you can't control the clone. It could be stupid and go in another direction. But if it sees an enemy god, it will fight the enemy god. It prioritizes gods at least, so it's a good thing. So anyway, what makes this thing good is it's a reset. You're going to get CC'd, say someone's rooted you and they're going to come after you. Unless you're silenced, like in Nox's silence attack, you're going to get out of a situation. You're going to be able to move through, jump up in the air, get some health back if you need to recover the HP, or you can just drop in on someone and dish out damage while you and the clone tag team them. Or if you have allies, they're going to help join in on the fun. But the point of that, it's really it's a somewhat way of an escape. Think of like Thor's ult, but you don't get much view over the map, and you heal. So that's one thing to know. Let's take a look at his damage. You do 227, 170. You're not going to do that much. You're still going to get some pen. Really, you're going to be a skill-based god. As you see, yeah, you're going to be mainly doing damage from your skills. You're going to be chaining them in, and you're not going to be as aggressive since, you know, you're playing tanky. You're just to get in the way. You're going to... In fact, let's try it out. Let's mess with this Ra over here. If you're smart, you can immediately get out of your bull form and just drop in more on them. I don't need to heal, so I'm just going to drop in and attack with my clone. The one thing that should be noted, the clone will be taken out if a hard CC effect comes in. I can't think of any specific examples, but just keep that in mind. If someone has a hard CC, they can easily dispense with their clone, even if it had a lot of HP, so they can see you. That's the other thing. If your clone dies, the enemy gods will be able to look up and see what you're doing. Like, you're up there, so they're like, oh, that was the clone. The real one's up there. Let's wait for him. If it's just one god, you'll be able to escape. Like, you could just go in the opposite direction and just bail out. If you haven't used your bird form yet, if you have your 72 transformations up, you could just drop in, bird form your way out, and say goodbye. But if there's a group of enemies, any good team with good chemistry will just say, let's block all the exits. So at the very least, he'll have to fight one of us. Keep that in mind and be prepared of when you do that. So it might be best to not get the HP if you can. Just face a direction when they're not there yet, and bail. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I think that'll do it. I think that's enough explanations for his skills because, like I said, you're going to be getting in the team fights. You might be initiating. You're going to be pestering the enemy team. You're going to be monkeying around, to put it one way, and getting their attention while your teammates try to chip away and destroy them. So last tip, I've said it before, use your 3 forms wisely. Don't waste it. And try to know which one you need for each situation. Your bird's an escape, your 2 is to escape roots or to ram into enemies, stunning them for a second. Your tiger form is to chase. Anyway, I'll have a follow-up video showing this build into action, so look forward to that. Anyway, I think that'll do it for now. I will see you guys in another video.